My name is Marcos. I'm here at Backflow Distributors in Sacramento. I'm going to demonstrate the 10th edition USC procedure for testing a reduced pressure principle backflow prevention assembly using a 5 needle valve differential pressure test kit. The parts of the test kit is high side bleed needle valve, low side bleed needle valve, high side control needle valve, low side control needle valve, and vent or bypass needle valve, the register of the differential pressure test kit, and a line side pressure read. I have 3 hoses, a high side hose, a low side hose, and a vent or bypass hose. The colors may vary depending on the age of your kit or the make and model. For my RP that I'm going to test, before I begin any test, I need to make sure that I have my paperwork ready and that I NIIO, notify, identify, inspect, and observe. Notify means I tell anyone that is relevant that I'm going to be doing this work. This test does terminate service to the line for the duration of the test. So, hey guys, I'm testing this RP. Identify means, is my paperwork correct and am I testing the right assembly? So, Wilkins 975XL3, size, I see it on the valve, 3/4 inch. Serial number embossed in the brass here, ALA 08110. It's correct. Now, when I complete this test, there are 3 tests separate for the RP. I'm going to test the first check. The minimum passing value is going to be 5.0 PSID or above. The number 2 check, I am going to verify that it is closed tight in the reverse direction of flow. And then the relief valve must open at 3.6 PSID or above. My inspect is going to be, I need to know if I can do my test. I need to know if this assembly is installed correctly, and I need to know if this assembly is modified from its manufacturer. So, can I do my test? Well, I have shutoff valve 1, shutoff valve 2, both shutoff valves, test cock 1, 2, 3, 4, check 1 and 2 in the same check body, and the relief valve. It looks like I can do my test. Is it installed correctly? Well, I know that this relief valve needs to be 12 inches minimum, or the lowest point of the assembly needs to be 12 inches minimum from finished grade. I'm going to say the bottom of this bucket is finished grade, and we're going to be plenty of space, and we're going to be safe. And then, is it modified? Well, I'm very familiar with this make and model provided by Wilkins, and this is exactly how it comes from the factory, no concerns. So my notify, identify, and inspect are complete. What's left is observe. Observe means you put on your thinking cap and you look around for clues. Is there anything happening here that's giving me any clues or information about something that's happening with the assembly? I may be the only one looking at this assembly in the last year. So I want to make sure I do my due diligence. Now I see some water here, but it doesn't look like anything is actively leaking. Maybe it's overspray from a sprinkler or something else, but no need for concern. Now that my notify, identify, inspect, observe is complete, I'm going to begin my preliminary steps. So, let's do it. First, I need to bleed my test cocks. The order does matter. 4 open, 3 open, 2 open, 1 open. 1 closed, 2 closed, 3 closed, 4 closed. I'm going to connect my equipment. I'm going to connect the high side hose to the number 2 test cock and the low side hose to the number 3 test cock. I'm going to take my vent, I don't need it yet, I'm going to hang it over for future use. I'm going to open my low side first. So test cock number 3, fully open. Whoops. Once I've fully opened test cock number 3, I'm going to open my low side bleed needle valve and bleed any air out of my kit. Now, I'm going to open my high side. So I need to open the number 2 test cock fully. I'm going to observe the read on my gauge now at this point, because I have water on both sides, and I'm going to bleed high. Now, while both low and high are bleeding, I'm going to close my number 2 shutoff valve. And then I'm going to close my high side bleed needle valve and allow the register to go to the high end of the scale. Now, as I close my low side bleed needle valve, I need to observe the gauge. I'm attempting to observe the apparent differential loss across the first check. It's about 8.9. I'm going to remember that number for future reference. If I need to, I can write it in the margin or in the comments of my test report, but I do not write it yet in the actual results. This is an observation, not a test. I'm ready to move on to test 1, the relief valve opening point. So I'm going to put my hand under the relief valve so that I can feel the water touch the back of my hand and I can record that first presentation of water. What I need to do for test 1, relief valve opening point, is put my hand so that I can feel the water, and I need to fully open 1 full turn of my high side control, and then I'm going to open my low side control just a crack. And I'm going to watch it fall. The water presented at 3.5 psid. I close my low side control. And I record my relief valve opening point. Now it must be 2.0 or above, so far so good. Next, I'm going to move on to test 2, the condition of the second check. I'm going to open my vent needle valve to get all the air out of this hose. Once I get all the air out of the hose, I connect the vent to test cock number 4. When I connect the vent hose to test cock number 4, I fully open test cock number 4. And now, before I complete test 2, my register is way too low. So I'm going to bleed low to reestablish my zone, bringing the needle back up past the apparent value that I observed earlier, which was 8.9 about. So I'm past it. I'm going to close my low side bleed. And now, while observing the gauge, I'm going to fully open the vent. only looking for movement during test 2. And the needle is not falling, it is not raising. I'm not seeing any movement at this time. So I'm going to mark that the second check is closed tight. Now that test 2 is complete, I leave both the high side control open from the beginning of the test 1, and now from test 2, the vent is fully open. All I need to do is bleed low, past the apparent value that I observed earlier, 8.9, and then close the low side bleed. Where the needle rests is the actual differential across the first check. Test 3 is complete. It is 7.9. So I have 7.9 closed tight, 3.5. This is a passing assembly. So I'm going to mark pass. My paperwork is complete, but the test isn't over until I leave no trace. So I need to close the test cocks. I need to remove my equipment. Verify all the test cocks are closed, and now I need to restore my service by slowly opening shutoff valve number 2. I'm going to take a step back, make sure my test cocks are closed, my service is restored. I'm going to look over my paperwork. It looks complete and correct. My test is complete. If you ever have any questions about backflow testing, backflow repair, special tools, installation, any material for any backflow preventer from a 1/4 inch all the way up to the largest size they're manufactured in 12, you can give us a call here at Backflow Distributors in Sacramento, 916-452-6500. Thank you very much.